In a world where you have many options to get yourself a gaming PC, you've got your custom builds, you've got your gaming laptops, you've got system integrators like DREAMCORE, you've got niche PC builders, what exactly is the right choice for you? Well, honestly, it really depends on who you are. And I've tried answering this question countless times before, even with a specific video. But the truth is, at the end of the day, you have to see kind of whether the price, cost, convenience is worth it for each individual choice. So I'll try to help you guys make a better decision by basically checking out as many products as I can. So this right here is the DREAMCORE Ghost V3. So the Ghost series from DREAMCORE is basically their kind of bare bones performance for the dollar kind of rig. With the Ghost series, what they're trying to do is they're trying to be as value for money as possible, be as pragmatic as possible, and basically give you as much performance as you can, and you have less flexibility in customization and choosing specific exact part, but you have a lot more in terms of savings because they're able to scale up by having these builds be a bit more restricted. So that is what the Ghost series is for. This right here is the $2,560 configuration. It's going on sale, I think, in 2 or 3 days. And what it has is an RTX3070, a 5600X AMD Ryzen processor, 16 gigs of RAM, an all-in-one water cooler, and a pretty interesting spec sheet. It's only $200 more than the tier 4 version, which only has a 3060 Ti and I think only a 3600X. So it is actually a pretty interesting option. So they sent it over for me to check out, make a video about, and we're going to be testing it out, playing a bunch of games with it, and we're going to be tearing it down just to see what the build inside, the quality of the build inside is like. So let's open it up and let's go. Got my trusty knife, box of accessories. I love accessories. In here we got everything you really kind of need. You've got your bracket for installing your stock AMD CPU cooler. Certain CPU coolers use this, certain CPU coolers don't use this. You've got your wireless antenna for basically your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. So you plug this into the back of your PC. You got a controller for the RGB of your case. I'll appreciate that. And you got a bunch of like warranty cards and stickers and stuff like that. And you get a little label that says 5600X. So you can show off to your mates that you're on 5th gen Ryzen. Another thing about the tier 5 AMD systems, this is a tier 5, this is their tier 5 AMD Essential system. I think that's what they label it as. Is that because you pay $200 more to go from a 3600X to a 5600X, what you end up getting is a PCIe Gen 4 SSD inside instead of just PCIe Gen 3, which is cool because Gen 4 is faster. But the truth is, Gen 4, Gen 3, the difference is it's not enough for an average user to notice. And games haven't reached the point where they're really using blazing fast SSDs to improve performance yet. That might be coming soon with the PS5 changing the game in terms of game development with PCIe SSDs. But as for now, fast SSDs don't really make a massive difference, especially if you're comparing like a Gen 3 SSD to a Gen 4 SSD. Like a Gen 3 SSD should be fast enough for 80% of people. And games haven't taken advantage of blazing fast SSD speed. At least not yet completely. I'm gonna try to take this out without breaking anything. Oh, God. Oh, bollocks. Okay. So this right here is the plastic, which we're going to peel aggressively. I didn't take my time with it because I wanted to piss my viewers off. We got a magnetic fan filter up top. That is appreciated. We got the all-in-one water cooler. So this is the DREAMCORE Nebula water cooler. So this is their own branded water cooler that they ordered, I think, from a OEM. And then we got the RTX3070 in here, just absolute triple slot chunky monkey, just clocked off, just literally all the way, filling up all of the slots, which is pretty interesting. And then we've got a little cloth lever to open up the door. There's another layer of plastic inside, which I'm going to peel slowly this time. You know what I'm going to do with this rig? I'm going to crypto mine with it. I'm just kidding, but maybe I should. Okay, we got 3 RGB fans on the front. These are DREAMCORE branded. And then we got 1 fan at the back for exhaust. So 3 intake, 1 exhaust on the back, and then 2 exhausts with the AIO, which is a pretty standard fan layout, makes plenty of sense. The RAM that we got in here is the Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro, and then we've got like a mirror finish coated Nebula AIO, so it's similar to like the NZXT Kraken. So that's that. And this is a 3070, and I just hate why did NVIDIA have to put the PCIe power connector here? It's so frustrating, but it does make for a more difficult cable management job, I guess. So in terms of I/O of this case, you do get USB 3 and 2 USB 2s up front. I would have liked some sort of USB-C integration, but maybe in the next generation we'll get that. Headphone jack, mic jack, LED switch for controlling LEDs straight up on the case is on top here as well. A reset switch, a power switch, all that can be found. So on the front, well, it looks pretty nice. We've got a nice mesh There's no filter though, but at least it has some sort of mesh cover, which is... Now moving on to the back, you can see the I/O. So the motherboard in here, if I'm not wrong, is a ASRock motherboard. No, it's an ASUS motherboard. It's not a super high-end tough gaming or something motherboard, but it gets the job done. We've got some video ports that won't be useful because we're not running an APU. We got Ethernet, got two USB 3.1 Gen 2s, I think, because that's labeled green. I assume it must mean it's a special port. Two USB 3.0 ports, two more USB 3.0 ports. And we got HDMI, DisplayPort, 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 which means you can have a nice triple surround 4K setup, because why not? Take a look at the cable management in the back. Okay, we've got a fan controller here. This has fan speed control and LED speed control, although you should be able to control the RGBs with this little remote over here. We're going to plug it in and check that out. Imagine if I plug it in and it doesn't turn on. That would be pretty horrendous of a situation. We got a SSD, 2.5-inch SSD drive bay here, so I guess you can do a bit of upgrading if you so desire. Cable management is quite well done, really quite well done. This is not the model with the Silverstone 80 Plus Gold, this is just the 800. I think this is DreamCore's custom OEM order, power supply, 800 watt 80 Plus Gold. It is not modular, it is not modular at all, but thankfully the Forge M has this area down low where you can kind of stuff in your cables and cable manage it. Cable management is pretty respectable. I mean, it's about as neat as you can expect it to be. I mean, this is not a super high-end rig as well. The cables are all strapped down quite tightly, and then the extra cables are all stuffed here, which is pretty much tradition at this point. You got like spare SATA cables, so you can plug in a hard drive or SSD if so desired. So that's pretty nice. You also got a 3.5-inch hard drive bay here, so if you want to put in a hard drive, you can, and then an SSD in here, so you can. Okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. The cable management is respectable. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to plug it in and let's just play some games because why not? Okay, so we're in Cinebench. Now this is a 5600X, so 6 cores and 12 threads, 3.7 GHz. It's going to be really good, single core, but multi-core is probably going to lose out to my 3700X. But honestly, we're just running it just to show you what it can do. I'm going to close the background tasks just so we have a fair test here. Okay. I mean, would you look at that go? I'm just waiting patiently because I'm still waiting for Cyberpunk to install in the background, so I'm just running Cinebench because I can. So it's going pretty quickly even though I'm downloading something in the background, so. And Cinebench R23 is done. We've got a score of 7,787 points, so better than the X5 650, better than a 7700K. Not actually better than the 5800H laptop CPU, if I'm not wrong. I think that got a 7.8K or something like that score, which is pretty insane. Oh no, we got an 8.8K, but that's also because I was downloading Cyberpunk in the background. And that's the multi-core score. I'm not going to run the single-core performance benchmark because I want to play Cyberpunk right now and have a little bit of fun. So let's do that. Okay, so we're in Cyberpunk now. We're going to test bench this PC, play a couple of games, and what I have it set to now basically is everything maxed out, everything on Cycle, Ultra. We're playing 3440 by 1440, remember, so this is quite a big resolution to run. I'm going to set everything to maximum, turn off the DLSS, and see how many FPS we can get in a setting like that. We're getting 14, which honestly is more than I expected we will get. Oh man, look at how pretty the lights are. They're all ray traced now. Wow, wow, so beautiful when I'm not moving and not noticing the absolute terrible motion blur. Okay, so this is obviously unplayable, but it is really gorgeous to look at. Just like look at the detail in that. No DLSS, 3440 by 1440. Oh, beautiful sparks. Oh wow, gorgeous. Okay, enough of no FPS. We need to turn DLSS on. I'm gonna set it to the quality preset and see what we can get in terms of FPS. Still looks really good. I mean, just not as good. We're getting 50 FPS now. DLSS. We're getting 50 FPS now. Everything crank. Can definitely see when I'm moving like that there is artifacts appearing. But it's not very obvious. Like for someone who is really obsessed with this kind of stuff, like me, like a geek, I will notice it. But for someone who is just like having fun, honestly, I don't think they will. 40 FPS in a more crowded area with DLSS. Oh, look at all the lights, man. Look at how crisp they look. Beautiful. Gorgeous. We have DLSS set to quality, so maxed out DLSS set to quality, we're still doing perfectly fine, so I don't see what's the big deal. I'm going to drop it to Ray Tracing Ultra and we'll see how that performs now. DLSS still set to quality and we're still getting about 44 to 46 FPS. I think when you set it to quality, it just targets a certain FPS amount. Changing your DLSS slider from quality to balance to performance doesn't necessarily dictate how much downscaling or upscaling is done. It just dictates like the targeted FPS that the PC is trying to get. So if you want higher FPS in the same settings, I guess if I drop it to performance, yep, I'll be getting 68 FPS, which honestly still looks really good. DLSS is amazing. It's really, really quite cool. What a wonderful world we live in. I actually never got to play Cyberpunk at like this level of graphic fidelity before, so it's really lovely to experience. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, this is the stage near the start of the game where you get to experience all like crazy stuff, and you have to like sneak in, or you can just go in guns blazing. And then I went in guns blazing because I don't care. Looks good. We're getting a solid high 50 to 60 FPS even with all these things going on basically ray tracing ultra. Ah, such a good time. I just want to keep playing, man. I don't want to make my video. I just want to play Cyberpunk. Why do I have to make videos? Oh yeah, so that I can actually afford a PC of my own and I can actually game like this in the future. Oh, they're still alive because I actually played this mission stealth, so they're still alive. I didn't actually wipe all of them. That's cool. I didn't know that. I'm here with a vengeance, boys. You're gone now. You're all gone. I have become Death, the destroyer of worlds. Next up, what we're testing Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And I love test benching this game because I don't need to play it. I just let it run and it does all the magical work of test benching in the background, and I just sit back and relax and reap the reward. Okay, so the benchmark is done and we've got the results here. We've got 8,889 frames rendered. We've got an average FPS of 56, which is more than enough. And this is with the highest setting, ray tracing, everything as well. There's no DLSS here, none of that cheapskate stuff. In terms of the CPU render, we got a minimum of 105, a maximum of 308, and an average of 153, which is really, really good. And then we've got, in terms of the GPU render, we have a minimum of 35 and a maximum of 103. So that's quite interesting to see, indeed. So yeah, so that's kind of the Shadow of the Tomb Raider benchmark. So easy, I just sit back and let it run. I love it. And with that, it's conclusion time. Let's talk about this PC and what I think about it. Well, opening it up and inspecting it, it is a perfectly adequate, a very well done PC. Cable management is good, part selection is generally quite okay. The only thing that I might have a slight concern about is the 800 watt power supply. This is their own kind of OEM order and stuff like that. So there's that, but for me, I personally wouldn't mind so long as it doesn't blow up on me. I mean, the part selection is generally quite good, and the whole concept of the Ghost systems is that, well, it is a pragmatic PC. It doesn't really focus too much on really subtle refinements or really fancy parts. It just focuses on getting you as much performance as you can get for your dollar, and as a result, it is quite a value for money rig. I mean, the temps are good. So far, it's quite reasonably quiet. You get plenty of RGB, and it is quite nice. Now, out of all the options in the Ghost V3's range, DreamCorE calls them tiers, so you can get tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in AMD or Intel spec. And this is the tier 5 spec, and it seems to be the most value for money, which is why they sent it over to begin with. Over the tier 4 spec, which is only $200 cheaper, you get a PCIe Gen 4 SSD instead of a Gen 3 SSD, and you get an RTX 3070 instead of a RTX 3060 Ti, and you also get an all-in-one water cooler instead of a air cooler, which the tier 4 does have. So this goes for $2,550, $2,560, and it's going to be on discount from October 5th, which I think is today, the day of the upload, for the rest of October. So if it's something that you think is a good choice for you, you definitely want to keep it in mind, keep it on your watch list, and do check it out. As for the quality of the rig on a standalone island, it is definitely good enough. It is definitely respectable. For the price that is being listed at currently at the time of making this video, definitely something that you might want to keep in mind if you're buying and building a PC in about $2,500 range. It's not going to be as cheap as a custom PC, that's for sure. Like if you go bargain hunting, you probably can get cheaper, but as I've said in my videos in the past, pre-built system integrated PCs do have the advantage of after-sale support and convenience, which might be a big deal for some people, although it might not be as big of a deal for some, so it really depends. And with that, I'm going to end this video off here. Hope you enjoyed this little fun experience of just messing with a high-end computer and gaming a bunch. And I'll see you guys in the next video, which will be tomorrow, the day after, or something like that. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.